Introduction. In 1944, a British doctor named John Bowlby walked into a clinic in London to solve a mystery. The city was still shaking from the sounds of war, but Bowlby was focused on a different kind of quiet destruction. He had 44 young people in his care who had been caught stealing. Most people at the time thought these kids were just born bad. They thought some people were simply made with cold blood or a crooked heart. Bowlby didn't believe that. He started looking into their pasts. He found that 17 of these thieves had been separated from their mothers for a long time when they were very small. They hadn't been held enough. They hadn't been told they were safe. Because they didn't feel like they belonged to anyone. They didn't feel like they had to follow the rules of the world. Imagine 2 boys from that study. We will call the first one Arthur. Arthur grew up in a home where, when he cried, someone came. When he fell, someone picked him up. When his mother left the room, he felt a little sad, but he knew she was coming back. His world had a solid floor. Now look at the second boy, whom we will call Peter. Peter was one of the 44 thieves. When Peter was a baby, his mother was sent away to work, or perhaps she was just too tired and sad to look at him. When Peter cried, the room stayed silent. He learned very early that the people he needed most were like ghosts, sometimes there, sometimes gone, and never reliable. To Peter, the world didn't have a floor. It was a tightrope, and he was always one step away from falling into the dark. Arthur grew up to be what we call a secure anchor. He didn't worry if his friends were mad at him, because he felt good enough inside. But Peter grew up to be an anxious detective. He spent every waking hour looking for clues that people were about to leave him. He didn't steal because he wanted things. He stole because he was trying to fill a hole in his heart that never seemed to close. The invisible alarm in your brain. You might not be a thief in 1940s London, but if you are reading this, you probably know exactly how Peter felt. You know the feeling of your heart racing when someone doesn't text you back. You know the way your stomach drops when a partner's voice sounds just a little bit off. You know the exhaustion of staying up until 2 in the morning, scrolling through old messages to see where things went wrong. This isn't happening because you are crazy or too much. It is happening because your brain has a smoke alarm that is turned up too high. In a normal house, a smoke alarm only goes off if there is a real fire. But in your brain, the alarm goes off if someone just lights a candle or turns on the stove. Your brain sees a short text message and screams, "Fire? They are leaving. Do something." This book is the manual for that alarm. You are going to learn how to turn the volume down so you can finally hear your own heart again. You are going to move from being the person who chases love to being the person who stands in love. The science of the soul. For a long time, scientists thought that babies only loved their mothers because the mothers provided food. They thought love was just a thank you for a full stomach. In the 1950s, a researcher named Harry Harlow proved this was wrong in a very sad but important way. He gave baby monkeys 2 fake mothers. One was made of cold, hard wire, but held a bottle of milk. The other was made of soft, warm cloth but had no food at all. If love was just about food, the monkeys would have stayed with the wire mother. But they didn't. They spent almost all their time clinging to the soft, cloth mother. They only went to the wire mother when they were starving, and as soon as they finished eating, they ran back to the cloth mother to hide their faces in her warmth. This tells us something vital. Connection is just as important as food. Your brain treats social rejection the same way it treats physical pain. When someone ignores you or pulls away, your brain reacts as if you have been punched in the stomach. This is why you can't just get over it. Your body thinks your survival is at risk. When you feel anxious in a relationship, you aren't being needy. You are being human. You are responding to a biological need to feel safe. But while the need is normal, the way you are trying to meet it might be wearing you out. Meeting Elena. It is 11:45 p.m. in a quiet apartment in Chicago. The only light in the room comes from a smartphone screen. Elena Vance, a 34-year-old graphic designer, is sitting on the edge of her bed. Her neck is stiff, and her eyes are dry from staring at the screen for 3 hours. She is waiting for a text from Marcus. They have been seeing each other for 6 months. Sometimes Marcus is wonderful. He takes her to dinner, he listens to her talk about her art, and he makes her feel like the only woman in the world. But then he disappears. He stops texting for 2 days. He says he's busy with work or needs space. Tonight Elena sent a simple text, "Hey, had a great time tonight. Can't wait to see you again." That was at 7 p.m. It is now nearly midnight. Elena's brain is currently in detective mode. She has checked Marcus's Instagram. She saw that he liked a photo of a sunset 30 minutes ago. Her heart began to pound. If he has time to like a photo, why doesn't he have time to text me back, she thinks. She feels a familiar tightness in her chest. It's like a heavy stone is sitting on her lungs. She starts to play back everything she said at dinner. Did she talk too much about her project? Did she mention her parents too early? Maybe he realized she's too much for him. By 12:15 a.m., the panic is so loud she can't sit still. She picks up the phone and types, "Is everything okay? I feel like you're being weird. Did I do something?" As soon as she hits send, she feels a tiny rush of relief, followed by a wave of crushing shame. She knows she shouldn't have sent it. She knows it makes her look desperate. But the silence was killing her. Elena is a brilliant designer. She is funny, she is kind, and she is successful. But in this moment, she feels like a small child lost in a supermarket screaming for her mother. She is trapped in the anxious avoidant trap. The more she reaches out, the more Marcus pulls away. The more he pulls away, the harder she reaches. Elena believes that if she can just be perfect enough, Marcus will finally stay. She doesn't realize that the smoke alarm in her brain is lying to her. The promise of the secure anchor. This book is written for every Elena out there. It is for everyone who has ever felt unlovable because they felt too much. By the time you finish these chapters, you will no longer be the anxious detective. You will not spend your nights analyzing the punctuation in a text message. You will not feel like your value as a person depends on someone else's attention. Instead, you will become the secure anchor. A secure anchor is someone who knows their own worth. They can say, "I need more communication to feel safe in this relationship," without shaking or feeling guilty. They can handle a partner's bad mood without thinking the relationship is over. They know that even if a relationship ends, they will still be okay, because they have built a secure base inside themselves. This transformation is backed by decades of science. We are going to look at the work of Mary Ainsworth, who showed us how our childhoods created the map we use to find love today. We are going to follow the life of Eleanor Roosevelt, a woman who lost her parents at a young age and faced a difficult marriage, yet found a way to become one of the most secure and powerful voices in history. The roadmap ahead. We are going to travel through 20 steps together to rewire your brain. First, we will look at why we fear the silence. You will learn that your protest behaviors, the crying, the chasing, the double texting, are actually survival skills that just need to be updated. Next, we will explore neuroplasticity. This is the incredible fact that your brain can change. You are not stuck being anxious. You can build new paths in your mind that lead to peace instead of panic. We will go back in time to find the origins of your attachment style. You will see how your past caregivers shaped your internal working model. This isn't about blaming your parents, it's about understanding the source code of your heart so you can fix the bugs. You will learn the 3 pillars of emotional self-regulation. These are the tools you will use when the smoke alarm goes off. Instead of texting Marcus at midnight, you will learn how to use your own breath and your own thoughts to calm your nervous system. We will tackle the anxious avoidant trap. You will learn why you are often attracted to people who can't give you what you need, and how to spot green flags in people who can. Finally, we will work on effective communication. You will learn how to ask for what you want in a way that brings people closer instead of pushing them away. You will learn that vulnerability is not a weakness, it is the only bridge to real intimacy. Throughout this journey, we will follow Elena. We will watch her as she tries these exercises. We will see her fail, and we will see her get back up. We will watch her transform from a woman who is terrified of the silence into a woman who is the master of her own life. The choice to heal. You might be feeling tired right now. You might be thinking, I've tried everything. I'm just built this way. But remember Arthur and Peter? Peter wasn't built to be a thief. He was reacting to a world that didn't feel safe. Once he understood that, he could begin to change. You are holding this book because a part of you knows you deserve more than a life of waiting for a text. You deserve a love that feels like a warm house, not a cold tightrope. The path from the anxious detective to the secure anchor is not always easy, but it is always worth it. You are about to stop chasing love and start choosing it. We will look at the exact moment the smoke alarm starts to ring. We will look at why silence feels like a death threat to the anxious brain. It is time to put down the magnifying glass. It is time to stop the search for clues. It is time to find the peace that has been waiting for you all along. The journey starts here. Let's begin. Chapter 1: Why do we fear the silence? Imagine a woman named Sarah. She is sitting in a brightly lit grocery store parking lot, the engine of her car still humming. 5 minutes ago, she sent a simple text to the person she's been dating for 3 months. Hey. Just saw that movie you mentioned. It was so good. Hope your day is going well. She stares at the screen. She sees the little bubbles that say the message was delivered. She waits. 1 minute passes. Then 5. Then 10. Suddenly, Sarah's body begins to change. Her heart starts to drum against her ribs like a trapped bird. Her hands feel cold and slightly damp. Her mind, which was just thinking about what kind of apples to buy, is now a spinning wheel of what-ifs. Did I say too much? Was the hope your day is going well part too needy? Maybe they realized I'm not as cool as they thought. Maybe they are with someone else right now. By the time 20 minutes have passed, Sarah isn't just waiting for a text. She is in a state of full-body panic. To an outsider, nothing has happened. No one has yelled at her. No one has broken up with her. There is only silence. But for Sarah, that silence feels like a physical weight crushing her chest. This isn't just dating jitters. This is a survival response that is millions of years old. The night the children left London. To understand why a simple silence can feel like a life or death threat, we have to travel back to a very dark time in history. The year was 1940. The city was London. The world was at war, and the sky over England was filled with the sound of sirens and falling bombs. The British government made a difficult choice to protect the next generation. They started something called Operation Pied Piper. They decided to move millions of children out of the city and into the quiet countryside, far away from the explosions. Imagine being a 5-year-old at a train station. Your mother hangs a cardboard tag around your neck with your name on it. She hands you a small suitcase and a gas mask in a box. She kisses you goodbye and tells you that you are going on an adventure where you will be safe. The children were sent to live with strangers in farmhouses and quiet villages. Physically, they were safer than they had ever been. They had fresh milk, clean air, and warm beds. They were no longer in danger of being hit by a bomb. By all logic, these children should have been happy and calm. But they weren't. A young British doctor named John Bowlby was watching what happened next. He noticed something that confused many other doctors at the time. Even though these children were physically safe and well-fed, many of them began to wither away. Some stopped eating. Others became very aggressive or completely silent. Many of them would sit by the door for hours, staring at the road, waiting for a parent who wasn't coming. The experts of that era believed that as long as a child was fed and kept warm, they should be fine. They thought love and connection were just nice extras, like dessert after a meal. But Bowlby saw something different. He realized that for a human being, especially a small one, being separated from their person was just as dangerous as a bomb. Bowlby watched these children and realized that silence from a loved one wasn't just quiet. To the brain of a child, silence meant, I have been abandoned. And if I am abandoned, I will not survive. This was the birth of what we now call attachment theory. Bowlby proved that we are not wired to be alone. We are wired to stay close to our secure base. When that connection is broken, or even when it just goes quiet, our brain screams in terror. The puppy in the woods. Why is our brain so dramatic? Why can't we just tell ourselves, they're probably just busy at work? The answer lies in our history as a species. Imagine a human baby born thousands of years ago in the middle of a wild forest. That baby cannot walk. It cannot find its own food. It cannot fight off a hungry animal. If that baby is separated from its mother or father for even a few minutes, it is in big trouble. In the wild, a solitary human is a dead human. Because of this, nature built a very special system inside our brains. Think of it as a smoke alarm. This alarm has one job: to make sure you stay connected to your tribe. If you feel like your person is pulling away, the alarm goes off. It floods your body with adrenaline. It makes your heart beat fast, so you have the energy to protest. A baby protests by crying, screaming, and reaching out. This isn't the baby being bad or needy. It is the baby using the only tools it has to pull its caregiver back. The baby is saying, "Come back. I need to know you're there so I know I'm safe." As we grow up, we stop crying in the middle of the grocery store, usually, but the smoke alarm in our brain doesn't go away. When you send a text and don't get a reply, or when your partner seems a little cold at dinner, your brain doesn't see a busy partner. It sees a predator, called abandonment. The alarm starts ringing. You feel that tightness in your chest. Your brain starts scanning for more signs of danger. You check their social media. You reread old messages. You are looking for proof that you are still connected. This is what psychologists call protest behavior. It is the adult version of the baby screaming in the woods. You are trying to tug on the invisible tether that keeps you linked to the people you love. When the face goes blank. In 1975, a researcher named Edward Tronick showed exactly how this looks in real time. He conducted a famous study called the still face experiment. In the experiment, a mother sits across from her baby. At first, they are playing. The mother is smiling, cooing, and responding to the baby's laughs. The baby is happy and relaxed. The invisible tether is strong and bright. Then, the researcher asks the mother to do something very difficult. He asks her to turn her head away for a second and then look back at the baby with a still face. No expression. No smiling. No talking. Just silence. The baby notices the change instantly. First, the baby tries to get the mother back. He smiles. He points at things. He makes little noises. He is trying to reconnect. When the mother remains silent and expressionless, the baby's panic sets in. He starts to wave his arms frantically. He begins to cry. He arches his back. He is in full protest mode. In just 2 minutes of silence, the baby's world has fallen apart. The most important part of the study happens next. The mother is told to smile again and pick the baby up. Within a few moments of being held and heard, the baby calms down. The connection is repaired. For those of us with an anxious attachment style, we are like that baby. When we face a still face from our partner, whether it's a short text, a quiet evening, or a missed phone call, our brain reacts as if the mother has stopped smiling. We feel the same panic. We use the same protest moves. We aren't being crazy or too much. We are simply responding to a biological alarm that was designed to keep us alive. The cost of constant scanning. The problem is that for many of us, our smoke alarm is a little too sensitive. Imagine living in a house where the smoke alarm goes off every time you make a piece of toast. At first you might run outside. After a while, you just become exhausted. You spend all your time looking for the fire, even when there isn't one. This is what life feels like for the anxious detective. You become a master at reading micro shifts in the world around you. You notice the exact second your partner's tone of voice changes. You notice if they use a period at the end of a text when they usually use an emoji. You notice if they seem a little more tired than usual. Your brain tells you that these small things are smoke. And if there is smoke, there must be a fire. You think if I can just catch the fire early enough, I can put it out. If I can be perfect enough or helpful enough or quiet enough, they won't leave. This constant scanning is incredibly tiring. It takes up all your mental energy. It's hard to focus on your job, your hobbies, or your friends when you are constantly listening for the sound of a relationship ending. You are paying a very high price for safety that never seems to arrive. The silence isn't the enemy. The threat isn't the silence itself. The struggle is that your brain has learned to associate silence with a lack of safety. To heal, we have to teach the brain a new lesson, that you can be okay even when the room is quiet. Alina's long afternoon. Elena Vance sat at her desk at the advertising agency in downtown Chicago. The office was modern and sleek, with big windows that looked out over the city. Normally, she loved the creative energy of the Dark Matter coffee shop downstairs, and the hum of her coworkers talking about design projects. But today she couldn't focus on her screen. Her latest graphic design project, a bold, colorful ad for a new tech brand, sat unfinished. She had sent Marcus a text at 10 a.m. It was now 2 p.m. Marcus was the man she had been seeing for 4 months. He was charming, funny, and sometimes very affectionate. But he also had a habit of going dark. He would disappear for hours, or even a day without a word. Alina's phone sat face down on her desk, but she felt as if it were glowing. Every few minutes, she would reach out, flip it over and check the lock screen. Nothing. Then she saw something that made her stomach drop. She opened Instagram and saw that Marcus had liked a photo from a local brewery just 10 minutes ago. The smoke alarm in Alina's brain went off at full volume. He has time to be on Instagram, but he doesn't have time to reply to me, she thought. The chest tightness she knew so well started to creep in. Her mind began to race. Maybe he's annoyed that I stayed over on Tuesday. Maybe he's realizing he wants someone who isn't so intense. She felt a wave of shame wash over her. She knew she was overreacting, but she couldn't stop the feeling. She felt like a little girl lost in a supermarket, looking frantically for a parent's coat in the crowd. She opened their text thread. Her thumb hovered over the keyboard. She wanted to send another message. Something like, "Are we okay?" or maybe something passive-aggressive like, "Glad you're having fun on Instagram." She felt the urge to tug on the tether. She wanted to do something, anything to make the silence stop. She felt like if she didn't get a response soon, she might actually break apart. But then, she remembered something her therapist had told her the week before. "Elena," the therapist had said, "when Marcus doesn't reply, your brain thinks you are in physical danger. It's trying to save your life. But you are not in the woods. You are in a safe office. You have a job, you have friends, and you have yourself." Elena took a shaky breath. She looked at her phone. She didn't send the double text. Instead, she whispered to herself, "This is an attachment protest. My alarm is going off, but there is no fire." It didn't make the anxiety go away completely, but it gave her a tiny bit of space. For the first time, she wasn't just feeling the panic, she was naming it. The first step toward security. The journey from being an anxious detective to a secure anchor doesn't happen overnight. It starts with understanding that your fear of silence isn't a flaw in your personality. It is a biological gift that has gone a little bit haywire. Your brain is trying to protect you. It remembers those children in London. It remembers the baby and the still face. It knows that humans need each other to survive. But you are no longer a helpless baby. You are an adult with the power to soothe your own alarm system. You can learn to look at the silence and see it for what it usually is, just a pause in the conversation, not the end of the world. In the chapters ahead, we are going to look at how to recalibrate that smoke alarm. We will look at how to strengthen the invisible tether so that it doesn't have to be pulled so hard all the time. For now, the most important thing you can do is be kind to yourself when the panic rises. When you feel that heart-racing urge to check your phone or ask, "Are we okay?" try to pause. Acknowledge the alarm. Tell your brain, "I hear you. Thank you for trying to keep me safe. But I am okay right now." The silence might still be there, but it doesn't have to be a death threat. It can just be a quiet moment before the next part of the story begins. Elena put her phone in her desk drawer and turned back to her computer. The ad for the tech brand still needed work. Her heart was still beating a little fast, and she still hoped Marcus would text back soon. But she decided that for the next hour, she would focus on the colors on her screen. She was starting to realize that even if the tether felt a little loose, she wasn't going to float away. She was still there. And that was a start. Chapter 2: Neuroplasticity, Rewiring the Anxious Brain. On a late summer afternoon in 1848, the town of Cavendish, Vermont, was draped in a peaceful golden light. The air smelled of pine and turned earth. Phineas Gage, a 25-year-old railroad foreman, was having a very good day. He was known as the best in the business, a man with a mind of iron who was calm, smart, and incredibly reliable. His job was to blast through solid rock to make way for the new train tracks. It was dangerous work, but Phineas was a master of it. He moved with a quiet confidence that made his crew feel safe. Phineas stood over a deep hole he had drilled into a boulder. He had already filled it with gunpowder and was about to add the sand that would help direct the blast. He held a 3-foot-long iron rod, smooth and heavy, which he used to pack the materials down. For a moment the only sound was the distant chirping of birds and the soft rhythmic thud of his iron rod. It was a scene of perfect, ordinary order. Then someone called his name from behind. Phineas turned his head for just a second to answer. As he did, the iron rod struck the edge of the rock. A single spark flew into the powder. In a heartbeat, the quiet afternoon shattered. The explosion didn't just rock the ground, it sent the 13-pound iron rod upward like a rocket. The rod entered under Phineas's left cheekbone, traveled behind his left eye, and tore through the top of his skull, landing 80 feet away in the dirt. Most people would have died before they hit the ground. But Phineas did something impossible. He sat up. He spoke. Within a few minutes, he was sitting in a cart, telling his men what to do. When the doctor arrived at the local inn, Phineas looked at him and joked, "Doctor, here is business enough for you." He survived the infection. He survived the loss of his eye. Physically, he eventually seemed fine. But as the months passed, the people of Cavendish realized that the real Phineas Gage had never truly come back. The man who was once calm and focused was now impulsive, rude, and prone to angry outbursts. He couldn't stick to a plan. He couldn't manage his emotions. His friends and family said he was no longer Gage. This tragedy changed the way we understand the human brain forever. Before Phineas, most people thought the brain was just a single mysterious lump that didn't have specific parts for different jobs. After Phineas, scientists realized that the part of the brain he lost, the prefrontal cortex, was the control center for personality, social behavior, and emotion. For over 100 years, this story was used to teach a very grim lesson. Scientists believed that once the brain was damaged or wired a certain way in childhood, it stayed that way forever. They thought the brain was like a piece of concrete. Once it hardened, you were stuck with the shape you had. If you were born anxious, you were destined to stay anxious. If you were prone to panic, that was just your nature. We now know that this is a myth. The brain is not a statue. The idea that our brains are fixed and unchangeable is one of the most damaging beliefs a person can hold. If you believe your brain is a finished product, then your struggle with anxious attachment feels like a life sentence. You start to think that your smoke alarm, that physical panic that hits when a partner doesn't text back, is just who you are. You might say things like, I've always been this way, or